record this. So can you still hear me? Can you please confirm that you hear me? Okay, good. So then, for those of you who watch the recording, welcome to today's webinar. For those who are in the recording, I apologize for the technical issues so that we now start 15 minutes late. Yeah, sometimes it is better to watch the recording than to be live there. But anyway, I'm really happy that you're here. My name is Martin. I'm CEO and co-owner of NETRONIC Software, and I'm the host for today's webinar. Today's webinar will be a feature and function webinar that is for those of you guys who are familiar with what we're doing, because it is a what's new webinar. So we released new products, product versions of the VAPS, the VJS, and the VPS. They are live on App Source now in the versions 1.18 for VPS and VJS and version 1.13 for VAPS. VAPS and VJS hit the App Source on Friday last week. The VJS followed on Monday this week. So as you can see from this list, we are on the cycle where we release a new product version basically once a quarter for all the three products. And typically the versions include bug fixes, always internal work to improve performance stability, also always, and then new features and functions, and from time to time, events and objects. We always publish this for App Source. Once it is on App Source, we also upload it to our internal partner portal so that you can also get it from there for your on-prem demo environments or for on-prem installations. We are more than happy to get your ideas for product enhancements. A lot of stuff that I will show you today actually came from ideas that you have. And what is important to say, we follow Microsoft's modern life cycle. So the new functions that we build are always only for the latest Business Central version. Plus, we try to make it available for the last two. So what you see today is available for Business Central 2020 and then for 21 and for 20. This is because Microsoft does so many breaking changes from one version to the other that we cannot cope with the legacy version, and always kind of we want to ship new functionality only for those Business Central versions that are supported by Microsoft. And this is not new. We started with this, I think, more than a year ago. I just wanted to put this out as a reminder. So this webinar today and the release also had a very significant focus on the VAPS. So we spent the majority of our work on the VAPS and launched actually a bunch of new functionalities that I am very excited about. They will make the VAPS even better. We did a few things to the VPS and to the VJS, but this time they were minor. So we decided that for the first quarter of the year, and we wanted to have a stronger focus on the VAPS. We will see the strong focus, and the strong focus will continue on the VAPS because, like with the VPS, the product is, I would say, almost ready. There is not more to invent. We have things that we will do and want to do with respect to the VJS, but for some capacity, for our internal capacity reasons, this quarter we decided to focus on the VAPS. I'm pretty sure that when we meet in 3 months' time, you will see more items also on the VJS side. But the focus, and this is no secret, will definitively be on the VAPS. And with this, before I read all what you have here, I suggest we go into the details directly and look into some of the functions that we build. And before I do so, you see that there are actually two items that I marked with an asterisk or with two asterisks. And these are like features that are, I would say, they are so comprehensive, and they have such a big impact on the one hand on the product, but on the other hand also what they mean for your customers' processes or for your processes, that I decided to kind of show them quickly today, but I will run separate webinars to go into all details of these functions. And this function, so I will introduce them, you will see them, you will get a glimpse of them today, but then I refer to 2 webinars, one in a week from now, and then hopefully with better sorted out voice options in the beginning, and then one in 3 weeks from now. And the first feature where I will run a separate webinar on is that we really looked at how to integrate the VAPS, so production scheduling, with the capacity ledger entry, so that we give your customers the capability to easily update the schedule based on actual data. And again, I will touch this briefly, but if you want to have more details on this, then please join me in the webinar in a week from today, same time, and then hopefully with no sound hassle. And then we have another new functionality where we worked on a better integration between production orders and sales orders, especially for those customers who reserve production orders for sales orders. Then you might know that, like, there is in the overall Business Central reservation system, there is little elasticity, there is no flexibility, and when you move production orders behind a sales order due date, reservations typically break. And we found a way that even if you change production orders due date so that they are past the due date from the sales orders, to kind of keep the reservations and to provide comprehensive report to the salespeople to show them which production orders run late. And again, this is a larger topic, also has a big impact, I think, on your processes or your customers' processes. So I will also do a separate webinar on this. But with this, so first of all, like, I would really be happy to see you guys again in 1 week and in 3 weeks' time to drill more into the details. But for now, I want to just give you an overview on this, and I will start with the integration with the capacity ledger entries. And here, the thing that we had in mind is that, of course, your customer, they want to update their schedule based on actual data, right? They have a schedule, and then the schedule hits reality. People start to post output and consumption on the production orders, and most of the times things do not go as planned. Then unexpected things happen on the shop floor, and then, of course, they want to understand, hey, something happened. What impact does this have on my schedule? Which jobs will run late? Where will I have problems? And the way of how Business Central is built is that every planning data, every data that is meant for planning is in the production order routing lines. And this is also where we read our information in the VAPS from. And when you start to post actuals, all these data go into the capacity ledger entries. And so also in Business Central, you have these 2 areas, the one data source for the actuals and the other data source for the planning data. And with the new version, we try to give your customers the chance to bring these data together so that, the schedule kind of is always built on the actual data and always reflects what is going on the shop floor. And so we implemented a capability to load recent shop floor data, so to load recent capacity ledger entries into a simulation. We then have a new color mode or a color scheme where we highlight deviations between actuals and schedules. So you can see, okay, this is my schedule, and here in my schedule, there is a visual alert, and there is something that where actuals is different than what I planned. And then we have the option to automatically update the schedule based on actuals. And what we do is we actually write the information that we find in the capacity ledger entries, we write them into the production order routing lines, so that then as we show everything from the production order routing lines, the production order routing lines mirror the information from the capacity ledger entries. And with this, we actually changed also the work date line, which was the line at the beginning of the day, to always now be on the work date timeline. And we also give you a line that indicates when the last update according to actuals was made. So the process to work with this new functionality is always 3 steps. So if we have, and this is the majority of our customers, it happens all the day, and it will be the same with your customers. You will have deviations between plan and the actual, right? So you plan it and then things happen and you have deviations. And if you have this, then the first step always is to identify deviation. So to see what kind of deviations did I start this on another machine that it was planned? Did I finish it earlier? Did I start it later? And so there are a lot of different deviation types, and we make them visible in what we call the shop floor status view. And then once I reviewed them, I need to update, and I update a simulation with the actuals. So I fetch the capacity ledger entries, I populate them into the production order routing lines of my simulation, and then I can update, I can automatically calculate the impact on the schedule. And once I'm done with my scheduling, then of course I need to publish the simulation to write the data back into the Business Central data, into the production order routing lines, and then the Business Central production order routing lines get updated with those data that we fetch from the capacity ledger entries. And that way we kind of build a bridge between capacity ledger entries and production order routing lines, which typically are completely separated entities in Business Central. And with this, let's have a look at this first functionality. And now I'm going in my database, and now I'm making sure that everything is as planned. So I set the work date actually to today and go into the VAPS. I create a simulation, and let's start with the production order status view. I create a simulation into which I copy all my production orders, and then I can view the simulation. And once this is loaded, those of you guys who are familiar with the VAPS, you will already recognize one difference. So now that, and this is a typical view with the work center groups, the work centers, the machine centers are left, the time scale, and so on and so forth. But you also, those who are new will recognize that, like, the work date line now is a work date timeline. So in the previous versions of the VAPS, this red line, the work date, was always in the beginning of today, so beginning of the 5th of April, but now it shows me the actual time that we have. So it's now like 4:30 here, right? It's 16:29. It says 16:28. So this is German time. So I'm actually always have now this line, and this moves like, I think every minute or every 90 seconds, it moves a little bit to the right, so that I always see where exactly I am with my schedule and what the time is. And subtle things now change. So if I would say apply routing to a production order, then we would never move it into the beginning of today, because this is already past. So everything left from the red line is the past. So then if we say, for example, add or apply routing, then we would always start from now, because now actually is the earliest time that we could start something new. And if we look at my schedule, we see that, like, yesterday I had a lot of production orders to do, and they are like grayed out, have this underscore here. So this is a production or a routing line that is finished. Here I see on my beta lines, there are some in progress. And then I see this one here, where I currently do not have any shop floor status on. There is no posting, no nothing on it. So it is scheduled but not yet started. And if I look at the production order, and you see now it moved to 4:30, and so it will continue to move. So if I look at this operation, if I go in here, if I go into the routing lines, then you see the first one is finished and the second one is planned. So it is not yet started. The first one is finished, so underscore. The other one was meant to start early today, and I have no feedback on this yet. So now what happened is that, and it was meant to start at 8 today, right? It was meant to start your beginning of the shift at 8 o'clock. And now, whatever, it seems, or there might have been a delay today. So the guys on the shop floor did not start at 8, but they started at 11. So now maybe it's also here the beginning or the end of my shift. So the end of the morning shift is now and the night shift start. And so people will do their production postings. I may have an MES system, I may have a shop floor system, but in my case, Standard Business Central plus the VAPS, I have the production journal. So from the production journal, I actually can say, okay, and I only will post on the second operation. The first one, right, was finished. And on the second operation, I will now say, okay, and let me get rid of those two. Get me rid of those. I will only post on the second operation. I post on it today, and I say, okay, I actually did a bit. So this was the first shift. I produced whatever. I produced 25 units, and I started with production not at 8 as it was planned, but I started at 11. Right. So this might be a posting that we could get from an MES system, that we could get from a shop floor system, but it's also a posting that you can do with the standard production journal. So I'm now saying, hey, actually, I started this. I'm not yet finished. I started this, but I started this later than planned, right? It was planned to start at 8, but I started at 11. And this is something that I post now. And now I'm creating the capacity ledger entry, but the capacity ledger entry does not have any impact on the production order routing line, right? So the production order routing line says still second operation starting at 8 o'clock on the 5th, which is today. So now I go back into the VAPS. I see I got a progress bar, but I don't have the latest shop floor data. So now I first need to fetch the shop floor data, so every capacity ledger entries that are not part of my simulation. And this is something I do with load new shop floor data. So now it's loaded, and first of all, I don't see anything because the color scheme that I have is the by production order status. So now I can go to the color scheme and say, okay, I want to see this by the shop floor status view. And then you see I made no changes to all the others, so they are green. But here I see I have a deviation. I have a deviation between what was planned and a deviation of what was posted. And this dark orange, and this is something I will explain in all details in the webinar next week, but this dark orange tells me there is a difference in the time. And so now I can say, okay, then please not only show me that there is a difference, but please apply the actual to my schedule. So please update my schedule based on the actuals. And this is that I say, okay, apply the shop floor changes. And if I say apply the shop floor changes, now you see actually this bar got moved now by 3 hours. It no longer starts at 8 as it was, but it starts at 11 as it was posted. And now it finishes at the end of the day, and all the others that were on the machine, they got automatically pushed out. So now I have a schedule that reflects my actuals. Let me undo this. I think this should work. I say undo, and now we look at here. You see now this is how it was scheduled. Now I say edit, apply shop floor changes. You will see this one move to the right and pushed all the others to the right. And now if I leave the simulation and if I publish this, we write back these data into the production order routing lines. And now we have updated the production order routing lines with the information from the capacity ledger entries. And that way we get a much better integration between what is posted through the production journal, but also through a shop floor system or an MES system. And we get this much better integrated with the visual schedule. And by this, your customers can kind of come close to always running like a live and a current and up-to-date schedule based on what the posting frequency is that you guys have. But when they, like I do now, when they post at the end of the shift, then the planner can say, okay, load shop floor data, update, and then you have an updated schedule based on what was posted, so based on what's happened on the shop floor. And as I said, there is much more to this functionality. This was just like scratching the surface. I will run a webinar on this next week, same time, same day, so next week, Wednesday. Please join me there to learn more about this. But with this, as I said today, I want to give an overview of what is new. This is one thing. This was major work that we did. A lot of investment was put into, a lot of thinking, and I'm really glad that we have this, because I think having the capability to run a schedule based on actual data, so to always update the schedule with like actual data, is really a great asset. And with this, let's talk about the next big thing that we have in this release, and this is like integration with sales orders. One, we actually have two ways to integrate with sales orders. I will show one later and one now. And again, this has a lot to do of how Business Central is built, how Business Central works with the reservation entries, and per se, the reservation entries, I think, are very, very powerful. And I will spend a lot of thinking on this in a webinar in 3 weeks, because the reservation entries give customers the capability to really track the dependencies between supply and demand. And this is actually something why customers decide for a system like Business Central, that they have these capabilities. But as we all know, like the reservation system and the reservation table is a bit of a beast, and it lacks elasticity. And what we wanted to achieve is we want that your customers, when they reserve production orders for sales orders, that they can keep the reservation even if you have delays in production. And we all know that the reality in Business Central is different. So if you have a production order, if you move it past the required shipment date from the sales order, then you get a warning. You have to delete the reservation. Then you have to move the production order, and you have to remove the sales order due date, and then you have to re-establish the reservation. So instead of doing always this manual work, I've spoken to many customers who say, okay, we have to accept that we have delays in production, but we don't want to lose the reservation. And even more, we want to keep track of those sales orders where we run late due to whatever material or capacity constraints, and we want to quickly see them. And so what we build is that we have the capability, and you can switch this on in the VAPS setting, that whenever we shift sales orders, production orders past the expected shipment date from sales orders, that we automatically also move the expected shipment date on the sales order, so that we keep the reservations. And then we kind of created a new document type that we call the reservation shift entry. And based on this like new document type or new data type, we can actually run a report to see which sales orders have been shifted due to production order shifts. And I know that this was a lot of theory. You are cordially welcome to join me in 3 weeks for another webinar where I will put much more theory to it. But for now, I again want to quickly show you how this is looking. So let me go to Business Central again and go to the VAPS, to the VAPS setup. We have a new field that is called sales order handling. And here I switch on the change sales line option. This is new. This whole section is new, and this is new. So what happens when I do this? Okay, let's create a case. And I'm actually making this up from scratch. But anyway, I go here. I create a sales order. The best customer to create is the Canon Group. Hang on. No number. There we go. So, okay. This is live demo effect. Anyway. This is a very good demo today. So let me start again. So now let's what's that? There is an issue. All right. Okay, this is because I changed the work date. Yeah, sorry for that. No, let me go back to my artificial work date. Now this should work. Now I wonder if I have production orders there. Yeah, this works. Okay, let me just check if I have sufficient production orders in the, yeah, okay, then this works. Okay, now let me create this. I have the sales order here already. It will be for Canon Group. We add an item to it, whatever, a random item, this one, and whatever, 77, and the customer is requesting the delivery on, let's do something where I know that it will be not realistic, so they are requesting it on the 12th of February. I have no item availability here, so I'm creating the production order from the sales order here. So I say create the production order. I make it firm planned. It's an item order. So now I have the firm plan production order 10, 12, 11. And this has been done. I have the reservation from the sales order to the production order, vice versa. So we can actually look at the production order. And what I'm going to do is I give this production order a specific color so that I will find it. Let me make this really black, that I find this in the schedule. So this is production order 10, 12, 11. So now let me create a new simulation. I view the simulation. And we have action view. Let me show this by production order view. There is this one production order. No, there is another one. I think this is this one that we just added, the 10, 12, 11. And it has the required due date here. Business Central planned it like this. Although you see I have my work and machine centers pretty loaded. So if I want to add this to the schedule, and I do this now quickly, I add this to the schedule, we will see I added it to schedule. I see you see now that for this production order 10, 12, 11, I definitively, due to capacity constraints, I violate all due dates from the sales order, right? And so now, nevertheless, I say I'm the production planner, and okay, I could use some alternative routings here and alternative stuff, and I could finish this a little bit earlier. But you see, I know that it will be unrealistic to tell the customer that we will finish this before week 10, although they are requesting it at the end of week 6. So I'm the production planner and I say, okay, this is realistic. So I leave the simulation and I publish the simulation. And now I'm writing this back, and typically what will happen is that I get a warning on reservations that I cannot change this because I'm changing reservations, violating reservations. But now I get the warning like, hey, you changed the due date for one sales order line with the publish of that simulation. That means one or more production order lines now finish later than originally required by the sales order. Would you like to review them? Then I'm, as the production planner, can already review them. And now I can tell my salespeople, look, there's the sales order 16. It was originally requested for the 11th of February, but we won't finish before the 8th of March. And this is me as the production planner. However, there are also salespeople working in my company, and salespeople in the company don't want to open a simulation, publish it, and I'm, as a production planner, don't want them to kind of go into the simulation. I want the salespeople to go to a report that is made for them where they can see which of the production orders are late due to whatever capacity or material issues. And hence, in this area of the simulation, we now have added a new menu item, which is the sales line changes. And the sales line changes is a report that salespeople can run to see where sales lines changed, and especially where the expected finish, the production order finish date now is past the expected shipment date from the sales order. So if I run this report, I now see that on the 5th of April, today, we made a change that sales order number, which sales order 16, which was originally had a shipment date on the 11th of February, now has a shifted shipment date on the 8th of this. And I see that this is for the customer Canon Group. It's that item. I also see the salesperson code name, and I see the contact details of the customer. So if you can imagine that you may not have one sales order that got impacted by changes, but 12, then you would see all 12 of them here. The sales guys can filter by their code, and then they can see which sales orders are impacted. They can go to the sales order and see, okay, the reservation is still intact, but the dates got shifted, like the planned shipment date got changed due to the change in the production order. So you can see what was initially requested. They see when it is planned now, and the reservation is kept like as it was before. And so with this, I think we can help customers work with the reservations between sales orders and production orders, add a lot flexibility to this, and also give people the information easily which sales orders got changed. And then once, and we regard this sales line changes list as a to-do list for the salesperson. Once the salesperson JO informed the customer that this is done, he can also edit the list, check this off as done, and then this list is empty again. If we unfilter from done, then we see the history, and then we can also see history of how sales orders change or sales order due dates changed depending on production order dates. So this is, again, another big thing that we did, and I will give you a lot of more details on this, why we did it and how we did it in a webinar in 3 weeks' time. So this is the second big thing. Then there are more things that we did. So one is enhanced way to define variations in capacity. We always used to have on the VAPS the capability on the right mouse click to say add downtime and add additional uptime. But this was always like, we can go here. And we can go to simulation. Let me create quickly a new one. I will need it anyway in a minute. So, but in the past, adding downtime to a work center always was like, or adding uptime always was very time consuming, because you had to do right mouse click and say define additional downtime or define additional uptime, whatever, and then do it work center by work center by work center. But what you couldn't do is you couldn't do it like in bulk, and in bulk means either for a number of work centers or a number of machine centers, or in bulk also means you couldn't do it like for the entire shift for a certain period. So you say, okay, I want to take whatever this machine down in the night shift in this week, because whatever, I have a lack of capacity, lack of people, or whatever. And this is something we did now. So now we want to enable the planner to more efficiently add additional uptime and or downtime for work in machine centers without making a simulation invalid. And this is either like doing this for multiple work in machine centers in one interaction, or doing this like taking away or adding hours like by shift codes. And again, we have now new dialogues that are called capacity management, with which you can change uptime and with which you can change downtime, and they all support bulk changes. So now let's have a quick look at this. So I could do now, for example, edit capacity management, and then I can say, okay, change downtime. So I want to add additional downtime, and I don't know, I want to make whatever. I want to make the LC 500 and the LC 108. I want to have some downtime here in week 10, which is starting from the 1st of March. So I add downtime by, let's do by date first. So I start on the 4th of March. In the morning. I do it all the time, and I do it at the end of this, and I start in March, 4th of March. Yeah, that's okay, until the end of the week here, and then I will do this for a machine center, and then I want to do it for whatever LC5, sorry, not for all of them. I want to do this for these two, and then I can say okay, and I have this, and then whatever, can see maintenance, and then I say apply. And then it seems to take a while. And now you see I have added the downtime on both machines for all those days. And similarly, and this is something I like really, I think it's really cool. I can also do it by shift. So I can say, okay, now, like I said, on the beta 800 in this week here, I don't want to work the second shift. So then I can say actions, capacity management, change downtime, add additional downtime by shift. And then I can say, okay, we start again. Let me take the same period in March, like the first week of March. We have like the second shift on machine center, and now we take the beta 800 only. Whatever, lack of worker, I don't know. And then we can just make the second shift of that day down for that machine center, or for that work center, or for that machine, or for the multiple machine centers, multiple work centers. So it takes a bit, but we write this also directly back into the respective work and machine center calendars. And now you see here, I just have made the second shift. So shift code 2, the second shift, the late shift unavailable. And so this is something I really like, because in the opposite way, it also gives you the capability to add additional or to model the impact. Okay, what would happen if in week 10 I would add the night shift to an area where I typically only work the day shift, and then you can reschedule it quickly. And then if you don't need this anymore, then again, you go to capacity management, and then you can also you change downtime, and I could also edit this. And from here, I could also take this away again. So that makes the, handling of absences of additional uptime, additional downtime, much more comprehensive. And quite shortly, we will also enhance this capacity management function so that you can also change the efficiency and the capacity of work centers and machine centers for a given period of time. So this is something that we started to work on already. That's this one. We have a function that I will explain now, but I don't won't show, because I think in my data I don't need it right now. We figured out that with the complex structure of Business Central data, a simulation that we have, updating the simulation with changed Business Central data, we cannot fully avoid that conflicting situations in the schedule happen. So from time to time, we had the case that we saw an overload on a machine center where there should be none. And then we could always explain this with, okay, we updated data in Business Central inconsistently, and then updated the simulation, and then something got weird. Or from time to time, we see warnings that tell us, hey, here is a violence in the sequence of operation. And sometimes this was also attributable to rounding effects. And now when you see those effects, when you see that you have an overload on a work or a machine center, or when you see that you get warnings that some like a link warning, a sequence warning, then you can go schedule and recalculate current schedule. And what recalculate current schedule does, it is just it cleans up your schedule from conflicts that might occur due to inconsistent data, especially when we deal with updating shop floor data, changing calendar data, fetching new Business Central data, all of this into simulation. Sometimes we saw data inconsistencies, and this function is meant to clean up this data inconsistency so that you have a clean schedule again. Then there are a list of smaller things, and I will not finish at 5 sharp, but I will take a couple of more minutes to look at them one after the other, because I think some of them, they are minor but still useful. So one thing is, and I'm leaving the simulation quickly, one thing is, if we go to the VAPS setup on the sales order handling, we also have the capability sales order on production order line. And we all know that sometimes if you go to firm plan production order, this was the one I created from the sales order. We know, now I know, and you see already it switched on. So I see the sales order number here on the production order line. So we now have the capability that when we set this field, that we not only have to find the sales order that the production order is meant for by going indirect through the reservation entries, but we see the sales order number directly here on the production order line. And then from here, I can also open the sales order number, and so that the link that we have, that this is more visible. Then Going to the VAPS settings, maybe we do this now one after the other. Going to the VAPS settings is on the material availability. We now have the option that we can say we want to exclude blocked lots from the EMAT calculation. So if you have lots that where the material is on site, but you block these lots, for example, because they need further quality inspection, then you can switch this on, and then we would not take these blocked lots into the EMAT calculation. So we would not pretend that this material is already available, but we would treat it as not available because it is blocked. So I won't show this now, but you just should know that if you work with blocked lots, and if you don't want these block lots to be available in the earliest material availability calculation, then you can switch it off here. Then we actually have, and this is something I like, we have a new coloring option with the bar coloring. So typically the bar coloring mode is graded, which was, as you saw it, it is graded, which means we always show, like in the color, we show the time when we have allocated capacity, and then we show it a little bit here in paler when there is non-work time. So now we also have the option to work with solid colors. So I go to the VAPS setup, and this is the same in a VPS. So I go to the bar coloring mode, solid, and if I switch this to solid, this change of colors will not be. We also have a third option, only allocated time. Then it is as it was in Navision, where we have the color and then white during non-work times. But I think the solid makes a lot of sense for a lot of customers I've been hearing, I've been talking to. And what we also did with this coloring option, and this is even more interesting, is if the color is solid, we now know the color of the bar. And if the bar has a light color, like here, we can show the text on the bar in dark color. And if the bar has a dark color, we can show the text in a light color, so that you always can read what is written on the bar. Minor thing, but I'm pretty sure that many of you guys will love this. Then two more things that I also regard as more or less minor. We always used to have the function that you could say on a right mouse click, like change, on a right mouse click with the started operation, that you can say change started operation. We now changed it in a way that we make this change, and the change started operation was always a change of the duration. We now made this eligible for every operation. So if we have scheduled this, and whatever my planner tells me, hey, I see that this is coming next week, but for this production order, I need to run my machine a little bit slower, that I can say on the right mouse click, I can say change duration. And then I can from here say, okay, we will not finish this on the 6th, but we will finish this on the 7th. And with this, we change the duration of this operation, which means if I would now publish the simulation, this operation would get, and you see the schedule is automatically updated, things getting pushed out. And by change duration, we keep the setup time as it was. We don't touch the wait time, we don't touch the move time, but now, and we don't touch the quantity. But now by making this, if I would publish this, we would update the runtime of the production order routing line. So in this case, the runtime would be longer, but of course I can also make it shorter and say, okay, we will run the machine faster. And then if I want to fill these gaps, we have the instruments like Titan Q on this machine center or fill idle times, where we would bring forward things. So if we make it longer, we push automatically out. If we make it shorter, we can decide if we want to fill this gap by pulling things forward, or for example, squeezing in that guy here. So this is also useful. And then last but not least, we also added a new, let's say, navigation function. So on the right mouse click, I can say navigate, and then we can navigate to the next operation, to the last, to any, or let's say if I go to the next operation, then it's highlighted. And now I can also say navigate, go to first, go to previous, go to next, go to last operation. So with this, especially if you have long routings with a lot of operations, this can help you maneuver through the schedule easier. And so basically, these are the new things that we built with a just released new product. As said, there was a focus on the VAPS, a very strong focus on the VAPS, with only very few and small things happening in VPS and VJS. I expect us to ship some new functionality with the VJS coming end of June, but with the VAPS, we will see more cool things coming over the next couple of months and weeks, and this kind of definitively will be the focus product for us for this year. So we have a lot of cool ideas there. And if you have ideas how we can make the VAPS even better, then please share with us. If you have any question, then please ask now or later. You have my contact details. And again, I thank you very much that you stayed patient in the beginning of the call when I had the sound issues, for which I want to apologize. I don't know what happened, but I will figure out later. And then if you have, if you are interested in learning more regarding the shop floor integration, so the integration with the capacity ledger entries, then please join me next week for the webinar. And if you want to learn more about the better integration between production orders and sales orders, then please join me in 3 weeks from now for the webinar, where I will really drill down into both of these functionalities, which I just now like scratched on the surface. And with this, let me see if there is a question. Did you demonstrate how the sales order number can be displayed in the VAPS? Yeah, you can switch this on in the VAPS setup. In the VAPS setup on the sales order handling, you can say, hey, I want to see the sales order on the production order line, and then it will be shown on the production order line. Let me see if there were more questions, and I hope that this answered that one. Let me see. It seems that there are no more questions right now. Let's check. Okay, so now no more questions now. So again, thank you very much. Apologize for the bumpy start. This is technology, and this can happen. So hopefully see you next week, and for doing the deep dive into the capacity ledger integration. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye-bye.